There are many ways to describe magic. Some call it energy, others call it language, prayer, alchemy, geometry. But within the hidden traditions of Babariu, magic is understood differently. The Solomonarii believe that reality itself is woven, that beneath forests, flesh, storms, memory, and stone, there exists a hidden structure known as the Vultoarea Veacurilor, the flow of the ages, an invisible tapestry holding the world together through tension. To ordinary eyes, reality appears solid, but to a Solomonar, the world behaves more like a cloak stretched across unseen hands. And because of this, the Solomonarii do not cast magic, they wave it. Before a stitch can reshape reality, the wave must first be open. So every Solomonar carries tools designed not for crafting fabric, but for shaping tension itself. The needle became the foundation of the system. Known as acul, it exists somewhere between a stitching needle and a ritual carving tool. It reaches into the wave. Bone, iron, silver, and sometimes gold are used depending on the stitching itself. And over time, the needle begins to change. Burn marks spread across the surface, cracks begin to form, and metal slowly wears down. But piercing the wave creates strain, and that strain travels directly into the body. So the second tool became just as important, the jetarul. Without it, the stitching hand slowly breaks apart. Joints fracture, nerves burn, fingers tear under tension backlash. Among elder Solomonarii, the shape of the thimble itself became a sacred symbol. Even the ceremonial hats of Babariu carry its rounded form. Then comes the frame, cercul. It pulls the wave into tension, forcing reality to behave like stretched cloth. Small frames are carried during combat and ritual work. They allow the Solomonarii to stitch while moving, but every stitch placed into the world carries tension behind it. Once the tools were established, I wanted to understand how the system would shape the people who use it. Because the Solomonarii are not simply magicians, they carry the craft directly on the body, so the clothing became more than the simple garments. It became part tool set, part protection, and part ritual wear. The tools of stitching are always kept close at hand. Needles hang from belts and stitched cloth. Thread is carried inside layered pockets and wraps. Small frames are used during ritual work. Nothing is worn without purpose. And over time, the clothing itself begins to change. More layers are added. Old tears are repaired with rough stitching. Burn marks spread across the fabric. Loose thread hangs from sleeves and belts. Some Solomonarii wear the same garments for years. The cloth ages together with the body, and slowly the silhouette begins to change as well. The shape becomes heavier, more closed, more hidden beneath layers of fabric and tools, almost as if the Solomonar is slowly wrapping itself inside the wave. Even the body begins to shift over time. The shoulders bend inward, the hands stiffen from years of stitching. The posture changes around the craft itself, because within Babariu, the wave always leaves traces behind, and the longer someone works against the tension of the world, the harder it becomes to remain untouched by it. But the wave always leaves marks behind, because reality resists being altered, and over time that resistance enters the body. The fingers suffer first. Years of stitching damage the joints, the nerves, and the bones themselves. Some Solomonarii eventually lose the ability to hold a needle at all, so replacements begin to appear. The stitched fingers, bronze, iron, silver, and in rare cases gold. Within Babariu, such fingers are deeply feared, because by that point the body is no longer leaving the craft unchanged. Every stitch takes something back. So this is the first real look at the magic system behind Solomonarii. Not spells cast from the air, but a ritual craft built on stitching, tension, structure and sacrifice. A system where tools become sacred, clothing becomes ritual architecture, and the body itself slowly changes through use. For now, this is only the foundation, because the deeper the Solomonarii travel into the wave, the more dangerous the stitching becomes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.